you're stressed out, you have anxiety, you're probably underfed, you're probably not eating enough. I mean, the fitness industry always tells you the answer is to exercise more and eat less. Well, for most people, well, I don't know if it's most people, but for a lot of people, it's probably the exact opposite. It's probably exercise less and eat more to fix everything you got going on.
Jay, dude, thanks for joining me here, dude. Really appreciate your time.
Of course, my pleasure. Always great to see you.
Always a pleasure. For everybody watching here, you're somebody that I've looked up to forever, being in this field and having the opportunity to meet you at your home base up in Jersey, back in which I believe was about 2014, of the gym that you started, Renegade Underground in Jersey, one of the first underground gyms, if you will, in the United States. I mean, it's been such a pioneer in this industry. So thank you for everything you've done for this field. Today I want to talk fitness, nutrition, exercise, mindset, everything that you are a pro or guru at. So want to talk about low volume training, something you talk a lot about, including diet and exercise and mindset. But one thing, I mean, you're down in Miami now, I'm up here in DC. We both live in a pretty intense area, if you will. DC probably a little more intense than Miami, but this is an area where a lot of people just work their ass off, on the grind all the time, happy hours, drinking, little sleep, up and back at it again, under eating, over drinking, going ballistic on high intensity workouts, and then maybe doing a Peloton on the weekend or something like that.
Right.
Right. And these are the kind of people that are just like fly by the seat of your pants, balls on fire, and think that faster and more is better. I'm sure you know plenty of people like that. I've worked with plenty of people like that. But can we just kick this conversation off by talking about strength training, low volume training, and just like joint health and longevity? I would love to get your intake on all of that.
Well, I mean, like you said, everyone is addicted to that lifestyle, and I get it. I mean, it's addictive. Like that's my natural personality. I mean, you're a Northeast guy, you get it. We can relate to it. I have to. It's actually harder for me to. I have to consciously be cognizant about kind of fighting that, because you and I both know kind of the physiological implications of if you just live that all the time and you don't address anything. But like you said, like everybody is already super stressed out. And I think since, March of 2020, probably everyone on the planet is more stressed out than they were before. And they're already super stressed out. And so you're stressed out, you have anxiety, you're probably underfed, you're probably not eating enough. I mean, the fitness industry always tells you the answer is to exercise more and eat less. Well, for most people, well, I don't know if it's most people, but for a lot of people, it's probably the exact opposite. It's probably exercise less and eat more to fix everything you got going on. Because if you're like, exercise is a stressor. So lifting weights, doing chin-ups, those things are a stressor. Cardio is a stressor, especially, high intensity is a real stressor. The same way as, work and being addicted to your phone and all the things going on in the world. It's all stress. So if you have all this stress all day, your stress hormones, cortisol and adrenaline are pumping, they're too high. You don't want that. It's very unnatural for us to be fight or flight 24/7 like we are now. And if you're looking at evolutionary terms, thousands of years ago, you'd only been in that kind of state once in a blue moon. It was good for you. Like it's good to jack up your cortisol and adrenaline, but like once a day, if you had to fight or escape something, or you had to hunt or something like that, not all day long, because you wake up and you're looking at your phone, you're replying to email, and you're rushing around, you're drinking 18 cups of coffee, and then you're going and doing a Peloton, and you're doing CrossFit and all these things. Like that's just too much. That's so much on your system. And then you wonder why you end up having a panic attack or an anxiety attack and go to the hospital. You have a heart attack at 38 or 42 or whatever. I just think, and people have, hustle tattoos and all this kind of stuff. And I get it, but you got to slow down and realize physiologically, it's just not possible to maintain that forever. We see a few people who are exceptions to the rule, The Rock, Arnold, but really those people are exceptions to the rule. The rest of us are going to end up crushing our immune system. You're going to get sick, and either it's you just get like a cold or the flu every other month, or you get really fucking sick. Like you get a that kind of chronic stress is what leads you to getting some kind of terminal illness. And so what I would say is training for most people should be more of a, I think Pavel was the one who said it, and I really thought this was a great way to put it. What is the biological cost of your training? And for most people, they don't really think about it like that. What is the biological cost? Is it aging you? Is it, again, pumping you with more stress hormones? Is it wrecking your joints? We don't want that. It should be beneficial, but for most people, the way they do it, it's not. It's better than doing nothing, right? But it's not as beneficial as it could be. So I think that you do strength training and focus on getting stronger. Focus on getting building muscle, especially as you get older. You're gonna have that natural decline in your testosterone levels. You're, naturally, if you do nothing, you're gonna lose muscle. You're gonna lose bone mass. So we want to fight that. So we want to train to get stronger, 3-4 days a week. Short kind of workouts. It doesn't need to be this marathon grind session. And we know now from science, like you can, even if we didn't have any studies, if there's no such thing as studies or science, you could still test it on yourself and see that if you do lots of those grueling type of workouts, you just feel like shit. But science has now shown that higher reps, low rest periods, cardio actually causes more CNS strain, hard cardio. Like there's low intensity recovery cardio, which is good. But the way most people do cardio, either at that medium intensity or high intensity, causes more CNS fatigue. So that just means like your central nervous system is just kind of burnt out. So overall systemic fatigue, like you just don't feel as good. So if I take most people who are doing what they are doing and I cut their training volume in half and I increase their rest periods, and I'm not talking, you don't have to rest 5 minutes between sets, but maybe 2 minutes, maybe 90 seconds. And we do, good exercises that fit your body structure. We execute properly. We train with progressive overload. We try to get stronger. And you don't do all these cool things that look good on an Instagram meme or anything. And you just do that for, give me a month of that, and maybe do HIIT like once a week, where you do 10 seconds super hard and 50 to 60 seconds recover, and do that for like 10 minutes, and do 2 low intensity sessions. Do that for a month and see how much better you feel. And again, to what's the biological cost of your training? I just think you're going to feel so much better. Like your hormonal profile is going to be better. Your stress hormones will go down. You'll probably sleep better. I could just keep rambling on about this, but
that's huge. I love that biological response. It's something I never thought of. And you put it in that terms, you start to think about the biology of your life. And as you're just talking about your stress and your recovery, that's huge. And that's a great question to ask yourself.
Yeah.
I think that's huge, going into a workout at the end of the week, at the end of a block, whatever it is, and what you want to get out of it.
Yeah. And I think sometimes it's a good idea too. You probably have to be a little more experienced and know what you're doing to do this, but it is a good idea to listen to your body. Like I never want anyone to not train hard and give someone an excuse. But if you've been training for a while and you're kind of getting more intuitive and you understand your body, there are days, like you said, at the end of a week, if it's been a crazy week and your workout shows that you're supposed to do this, but you can only perform at like a 4 out of 10, well, then maybe you got to alter that and listen to your body a little bit, and not try to set a PR that day. Maybe take longer rest periods, maybe do half the volume that's on your workout. That gets really more important as you get older. Because you could be 23 and not sleep and have a ton of stress and eat like shit and drink, and you'll plow through, you'll set PRs. But as you get older, you got to listen to your body more.
Most definitely. I'll be 39 in a couple of weeks, and my assistant coach is 25.
Yeah.
Totally different.
Yeah.
Dude can mow. I need to pull it back a couple of days.
Yeah, for sure.
You talk about health and longevity. You're a guy that really changed my game on using an angled bar. Shoulder.
I see you got
shoulder and elbow stress. Exactly. One for each rack, man.
Yeah.
But so you changed my game on that. And going from the high intensity stuff and low volume, and as you mentioned, like get stronger. Why is protecting the shoulder and the elbow and the wrist and everything just so important? What led you to picking up those angled bars that you had made at your old gym?
Yeah, so I think there is, people just buy into certain things that have been regurgitated over and over, or they, it's kind of like crowd think, like, oh, this is the way everyone does this. You have to do X, Y, Z. And there's this weird mentality that a lot of people have with strength training where it's got to be what they did in 1906, and it's got to be, you just got to stick with what people have always done. But But then those same people who regurgitate that ad nauseum don't also advocate that football players should still wear a leather helmet with no face mask, and that we should still ride horse and buggies, that we shouldn't have cars. Like, things evolve. There's no possible way that a straight barbell and the diameter of plates that some guy just randomly decided can fit everybody's structure. Like, Patrick Ewing and I don't have the same limb lengths and same weaknesses and strengths. And so I think you want to take the individual and look at, okay, well, does everyone have to use a straight bar? Does everyone have to back squat? Does everyone have to do this, do that? No, I mean, there's all good movement patterns. You want to press, you want to pull, you want to squat, you want to hinge, you want to lunge, you want to rotate, you want to do loaded carries, whatever. We all want to do these things, but what works for you and works for your wife and works for me and works for 5 other guys who are pro athletes, pro bodybuilders are going to be a little bit different here and there. There's just no way that can't be. Slight variations. And so to your original question is, you like look at areas that get injured. If you do nothing, there's areas that just eventually, as you get older, your shoulders start to get, like, you see a guy in his 80s, like his shoulders are banged up a little, hips get tight, knees get a little banged up. So we want to prevent that. So why would we want to go to the gym 3-4 days a week and do something that's going to make those worse? Just anything that causes unnatural stress on the body, where a straight bar is not, natural. I'm a big believer in joint stacking properly. So even if I was going to use the machine and it's like this or it's like this, I'm like, I don't love that. I mean, and I've gotten more obsessed with that as I've gotten older, where even things like if you're doing, let's say, an easy bar curl, and I don't like the way the joints are lining up, like they're not perfectly stacked like this. I'm like, there's a better exercise for that. Like, there's all these things where I just am almost OCD about how I want this to be, because why risk it? Like, what's the point?
Yeah.
Unless you're competing in powerlifting or competing in CrossFit or you're competing in Olympic lifting or something like that, like, you don't have to do those movements. Do similar movements that feel better. And every day, if you wake up and you feel better, okay, that was a good movement. If you feel like shit, okay, maybe we got to do something else other than that. So again, a straight bar, not that natural, but if you angle a little bit, more natural. Same thing with a barbell back squat. Like, not everyone can get this position, but everyone can do a safety squat. Everyone can do a goblet squat, things like that. I think if we could just remove the stress, and you'll get better results, because if something's causing you inflammation, then your body has to repair that inflammation, and that's just excess kind of energy going away. And also, there is a thing that if you're inflamed all the time and your body's always having to repair little small minor injuries, I don't think you get as lean as fast. Like, you're just taking that energy away. Your stress hormones are going up. Maybe your sleep's going to be impacted. So if you could do exercises where you're like, dude, I feel fucking great, there's no joint stress, I just think everything gets better faster.
100%. And I think that's a key takeaway for everybody, that if you have that inflammation, you're not ever going to be properly recovering, and you're just in this inflamed state. And to your point, what you spoke about a little bit ago, of having somebody who's exercising 5 or 6 times a week, you tell them, I want you training 2 or 3 times a week and focus on stuff outside of the life, or more in your lifestyle outside of the gym, they get leaner quicker.
Yeah.
No, it's wild. And they think it's so counterproductive or intuitive.
Yeah. I mean, so many of the things are so counterproductive, intuitive. I mean, you could take someone who's so stressed out, drinking a pot of coffee a day, eating keto and 1,000 calories below maintenance, and then be like, all right, here's what we're going to do. You're going to have a box of cereal after every workout and eat a box of rice at night and cut your training volume in half, and they'll be leaner. Now, eventually you got to change things around a little, but like, when you're such a stressed out state, sometimes the opposite works really well.
Yep. Oh my gosh. So funny. Just before I go on this next question and piggyback off what you just said, you taught me so much about joint stacking. So thank you.
Oh,
It's huge. And reduction in inflammation, everything just works better, feels better. You're able to get better results.
Yeah, I think it's super important. And every exercise, I'm always thinking of that. Does this make sense? Is there something that's, slightly out of alignment here? I just think long term, you're going to feel way better. And you might not notice it. You might be like, whatever, dude, in 6 months, a year. But like, I think 5 to 10 years down the road, you'd be like, I'm so glad that I did all this stuff.
Without a doubt. I mean, I tell people when they're in a push-up position throughout like this, you're really pushing this way if you're set up like this. We stack, we put it like this. Here, my elbow's pushing my wrist over top of my shoulder.
Yeah. Yeah,
Huge.
I think it's hugely important.
It is. You can either wreck your joints or wreck your muscles. We typically go to the gym to wreck our muscles, not our
Yeah,
joints,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Piggybacking off of training and diet, what you were just talking about, what would you, or I guess, what would be different in a training program for someone who is looking to lose weight and someone who is looking to increase their performance? How would you program things differently?
I think it'd be pretty similar, because I think that's a misconception. Like, again, to what we said at the beginning, okay, I got to lose weight, so I got to do everything. I got to do keto and 100 cardio sessions a week, and my workouts have to just be like circuits and all that. So I think we would want to train more like someone who's training for performance. So let's keep the volume a little bit lower. Let's keep a logbook and try to beat your numbers. Try to now normally you might think, okay, if someone's trying to improve performance, then and someone's trying to lose weight, well, they don't need to add in jumps and change of direction and throws and explosiveness and things like that. But I still think that's a good idea. I think as you get older, you get slower, you lose that, you lose fast. You don't technically lose fast twitch muscle fibers, but they can convert to the characteristics of slower twitch. I think it's important to maintain all those just the same way it is to maintain muscle and maintain bone density. So I think everybody, no matter what your goal is, should at least once a week jump, at least once a week throw something, at least once a week sprint, either with a sled or on a hill or whatever makes it, less stressful and less risk of injury for you. So I think you should do those things. I think everybody should, again, like, do the basic movement patterns. Everybody should do some single leg stuff, some stuff that challenges. And I think too, if you're doing like athletic stuff, I mean, I don't think we can prove this by I don't think there's any studies that prove this, but I think it's safe to say from real world experience that if you're doing those things, those athletic things, and this almost seems like bro science, but I feel like maybe it doesn't change the way your physique looks, but it just changes the way you maybe process carbs. I feel like it improves your insulin sensitivity. I feel like there's just a lot of benefits to it, what it does to your metabolism and your hormonal profile. Like I know that if I take someone and just sprinkle in a little bit of that stuff and take their identical twin and don't, in a year, I feel like the person who's doing the athletic stuff, somehow there's going to be something better. And again, you're just improving your athleticism, which why would you want to be 60 and, barely able to walk? So I think the program's pretty similar. I think everybody should do something that challenges their stability, that improves their mobility. And the great thing about like, good, proper strength training is it improves those things. It improves stability, mobility, flexibility without you having to dedicate 30 minutes a day to each of those. If you do that, if you train through a full range of motion, train properly, you don't need to do all those other things. That's why it's like, at the hierarchy, it's top tier. It's the main thing you can do. And then if you're still really lacking in mobility and flexibility, then, sure, add some other stuff in. If you like doing yoga, do that. But I think that's the number one thing. Even if you're an endurance athlete, I think strength training is still the number one thing, because it's going to prevent injuries. And it's going to make everything you do from an endurance perspective easier, just because every step you take, every paddle you take, whatever it is, it requires less effort. So you don't get drained and tired as fast.
Yeah, for sure. What I would almost go to say that the jumps and the throws and just all those kind of primal movements, if you will, I think it's almost like as you get older, it's almost like doing Sudoku, right? Because it's like the coordination and the skill. Right, the thought process that goes behind that keeps you a little bit younger, right? Because we tend to lose those things. I mean,
I agree.
We can sit down, but like going and being primal, if you will. I mean, I hate that word being like primal, but the instinctual and the coordination, the skill, I think, which keeps us very sharp. And I think you're totally right. Where
I agree.
You take those identical twins, one doesn't do that, the other one does. I think you're going to see definitely an advantage.
Yeah, for sure.
How would you alter the person's diet or lifestyle to optimize their goal or outcome between those two people for fat loss or performance?
I think everybody should have a diet based on kind of just whole, real foods. I don't think anyone at the beginning, like some people will do great on super high carbs. Some people will do great on super low carbs. But if you're just an average person who's kind of not really paying attention to your diet, you don't really know. And here's the thing that from experience, we all know from experience, any diet that you switch to, the first 30 days or so, like, and then the honeymoon period could last 6 months, but you're always amped up about it. And you tell everyone, this is the only way I'm eating forever. I feel amazing. But there is that honeymoon period where you have to try a bunch
Yeah.
of different things to know. But no one's ever going to go wrong eating whole foods, real foods that you can pick, grow, kill, whatever. I think it's a good idea for a lot of people. It depends where you're starting, right? Like if you're starting from eating fast food for breakfast, okay, well then we don't need to get that extreme. Like let's just change that fast food egg McMuffin to like maybe just some eggs and bacon and toast that like whole grain or sourdough toast that you eat at home. Like let's just make those changes at first. Then we can get stricter with it. Now, if you've already been eating pretty clean, you're like, I want to take it to the next level. I think then like some kind of elimination diet, a paleo AIP, something like that works really well for 30 days for people, where you get rid of most stuff that's going to typically be inflammatory or irritate your gut. You eliminate those for 30 days, and one at a time, bring them back in. Then you kind of have an idea of what works for you. And once you do that and you decide, like I like simplicity. I like things that could be repeated and then what's going on. So I tend to tell most people that I work with, find out what those foods are. It's probably like 7 to 10 foods. Eat them every day. Eat the same meals every day, because then it's easier, instead of saying like, oh, I got to measure my macros, I got to do this, I got to do all these calculations. Well, if you know that every day breakfast is this and lunch is this and dinner is this, maybe not the exact same thing, but pretty similar, then okay, at the end of the week, oh, I didn't get leaner. Well, maybe I got to pull some rice out of dinner. I didn't get bigger. Maybe I got to add some rice to dinner. Like, so you make it easy on yourself. Where if you're always eating, if you eat 3 to 5 meals a day and they're always different, you're trying to eat the rainbow and do all these different things. I think you're making it much more complex on you. So like I tell someone, if you're trying to get jacked, all right, let's just eat bison and rice for most of the time, most of your meals, and then we can just
Yeah.
add a little more, or take away some if you're getting too fat too fast. Like just keep it simple.
That's brilliant. That's brilliant. And I always talk about how like getting into a rhythm is key for the body. And that is crucial. And like, as you say, simple, you're the king of simple. I love it. And that is brilliant and super simple. That's awesome.
Well, if you own a dog,
take something.
If you own a dog, you know that you need to feed them the same thing over and over. And if you change their diet, like it might wreck their stomach, introduce changes gradually. We're not that sensitive, but I still think it's a good idea. Like you find out what you function really well on. And I think this goes for exercise too. But and I'll get to that in a second, but like in terms of nutrition, what do you feel really good on? Like I know I feel great on red meat, and there's like a few things there's like 6, 7 things that I feel good on. Anything else that's outside of that, I know the next day I might not feel that great. Maybe I'll be a little sluggish, maybe I'll whatever. Like, so I just try to eat, if I want to feel great, I eat those 4 to 7 things, which I think everyone should do that. And then even with exercise, I think sometimes we get too much caught up with variety, which some variety is good to prevent overuse injuries. But when you find something that works for you, I mean, think about like the different movement patterns, or if you want to break it down into muscle groups, there's only so many good exercises per body part or muscle group or movement pattern for each individual. Like you might have, let's say for an overhead pressing variation, maybe your shoulders are banged up and you only have one that feels good. So why would you do 16 other ones? Maybe just do that one and rotate it in and out and change the sets and rep scheme.
Oh boy, we're getting a little freeze action going on here. You with me? You with me?
Yeah, where'd you lose?
Little glitch in the system. No, you were talking about, and you were making a great point on the overhead press, where if your shoulders are banged up, then you stick with one. Why throw in 16 different ones?
Yeah, and that could be, maybe for like some kind of rowing, maybe there's 5 that feel great with you. Okay, so you could rotate those. But I think that's important in everything you do, in your nutrition, in your training, in your business, in your social life, in your relationship. Like narrow it down to the things that work, that feel good, that make you feel good, and do those things repeatedly.
Everybody that just heard that just needs to listen to that on loop for the next 12 days. Seriously, keep it simple. Jay, that was fucking awesome.
Thank you.
I love that. Man, so keeping it simple, and as I said, you're the king of keeping it simple. You do everything so well, and you optimize it. And we talked about training and and nutrition, all the different applications, but truly we know what it comes down to in order to grow and succeed is your mindset. And I've witnessed your growth, your transformation, and been to one of your renegade weekends, which dives deep into the soul. And the weekends are nothing short of amazing. I mean, you broke me down. I cried. I think everybody else in the room cried. But if you could take it to your expertise, tell us about your transformation, the renegade weekends that you host. You got one coming up later this year. What you hear and see from the guys that are in these rooms with you. And if you can go down this road, because I feel like it's so important and beyond exercise and nutrition. Take us deep in there and tell us about why mindset is king.
Yeah. Well, you need to get clear on what you want. And, like we were just talking about there, like simplifying is super important. So you need to get clear. So it was, this sounds crazy now in retrospect, and especially the world we live in where kids are, and maybe to their detriment, and I think definitely to their detriment a lot, are just bombarded with personal development. They get obsessed with personal development at like 18 or 23 or something like that. I really didn't think about personal development until I was 33, which again, sounds insane now, but all I was thinking about was work. And that was it. Like I was in the gym 12 hours a day. I was just building the business and I was training, and that was it. And then at the end of the day, I just wanted to have fun. So I wasn't going to pick up a personal development book. I wasn't going to work on myself because I was like, yo, I'm just super fucking busy. It's at the end of the day. Let me laugh and go to sleep and repeat. And also I had all these self-limiting beliefs and narratives in my head, which I never even really thought of. I didn't address, but it was like, I don't know, people don't change. Like this is the way I am. This is the way I think. This is the way my family thinks. These are the beliefs that we have. These are the things we don't do, we can't do, and that's it. And I'll just go on. And it seemed like back then, again, now things are changed, things have changed, but it seemed like that was what you did. That was what people always did. And then I just had this epiphany and this awakening. I was like, oh man, there's a lot of stuff I need to change. A lot of this shit is probably bullshit. I don't want to live like this. I don't want to be this kind of guy. I am holding myself back out of fear, out of fear of being judged, fear of what other people will think, what they'll say. And I started to, I've always been like a big fan of stand-up comedy and music, as you know, and I would see people that, we looked up to and admired, and I was like, man, I wish I could be more like that. Socially, I wish I could be in a crowd. I wish I could make people feel better, or I could own a room, or I could speak in front of groups. And so I just said, man, well, why can't I? Like, let me start to address some of these things. So I went on this journey of, I think it's such a cliche, but really and truly, the biggest thing is who you spend your time with. So when you're around people like that have all those, limiting beliefs, and they gossip and they complain, they talk shit, and they knock down ideas, it's really hard to grow. But so I made this kind of cognizant decision to be like, okay, let me get away from those people, because I know the crap's in a bucket. They're holding me down. And some of it it's not intentional. It might not be bad people, but they're not willing to grow. They're not willing to do the work. And it's hard to do that. It's just like, if you want to be strong, train in a gym where lots of people are stronger than you. So seek out the right people, get away from the negative people. That in itself, if that's all you ever did for personal development, I think it would change your life. Because just being around those people, you don't even have to sit there and have discussions of, oh, what are we going to do to improve today? It's like you just learn by osmosis. You just see the way this person executes, the way this person makes decisions, the way this person builds relationships, treats the waiter, all these little things, and that just impacts what you do. And then when you're around people who are growth minded, every time you're with them, or at least if especially if you don't see them more than a few times a year, something has changed. They've always worked, so they've improved something. Maybe some weird habit that they used to have, or some insecurity is no longer there. They've gotten better. You're like, wow, that's sick. Oh my God, if he could do that, I could do that. So it just always keeps you focused on getting better and moving forward. So I think, just get clear on who you want to be around, who you don't want to be around, and seek those people out. Like, those people are not going to come and knock on your door and be like, yo, I got an awesome crew, come hang out with us. That's just not going to happen. You have to invest in yourself. Really, the best way to do it is go to events, like pay to be in the room, get around those people, because people who are investing in themselves, those are people who you want to be around. So fly to events. Things are getting back to normal now. Things are opening up. So get to every event you can. even locally, when stuff, I always tell people like go on meetup.com or something when there's more stuff going on, like just get out, get around people and push yourself out of your comfort zone to connect with those people. Whereas if historically, okay, for 35 years, I'd go to one of these things and I would sit there, uh, like a wallflower, not talking to anybody. All right, that's the first step. Like go to these and approach someone, start to build relationships. Just that changes, everything. Again, people. That's super
Yeah.
important. And then, above and beyond that, just obviously reading books and listen to podcasts, things like that. But I think it's also just a daily practice. Like, okay, so now if you're aware of these things, like if you're going to build your business every day, you're going to be like, okay, here's my KPIs and my ROI and this, that, and the other thing, and what I need to do. And if you're serious about your training, maybe you'll write down your diet, put it into MyFitnessPal, and you'll track your workouts. But we don't do this with personal development so much. Like it's just an afterthought. So, and personal development mindset, same type of thing, right? So if you know that you want to improve that, you have to have some metrics. You have to track something. You have to write something down. You have to have PRs that you can chase. So start to do that. Treat it seriously. Like write down in your journal in the morning. Like, okay, what do I want to do differently? What do I need to improve on? At the end of the day, review it. Like those are your KPIs and things like that. What did you get better at? And obviously having a coach, having someone to hold you accountable, having that crew, that's super important. Trying to think what else I would add to that. And then one thing I think is great is if people have a daily non-negotiable list of things that you have to do, and then you go through and keep it short. Like if you make it 18 things, you're not going to do them. Like make it like 3 to 5 things. If you don't have any, make it 3 things. Like, and prioritize what's important to you. So if you're struggling with your diet and fitness and nutrition, be like, okay, I'm going to eat 3 clean meals a day. I'll have 1 cheat meal. I'm going to get in 3 45-minute workouts a week, and I'm going to get to sleep by 10 each day. Something simple like that. And you stack those kind of check marks, like Jerry Seinfeld talks about. He puts a check mark, a red X on the calendar for every day he writes a joke. Stack that, and then it becomes easier to do, and then you could add another one on. I think that's really, really important, is just to build those little small sustainable habits. And then what happens is your confidence goes through the roof. So you talk about mindset. Like if you make a promise and keep it to yourself, your confidence goes up. If you make a promise to yourself and break it, your confidence goes down. It's pretty simple.
Yeah, it's huge. It's so funny. We have like exercise and nutrition trackers, and people will get religious with them.
I know.
But with personal growth and small things like that, you make a great point where it's like, write it down. 3, 5 things to do along with this. If you want to continue to grow, if you're tracking your nutrition, you're tracking your exercise, do a little something. And it can be as easy as a Seinfeld is just that joke and that line.
Yeah.
That's huge. Tell us about the Renegade weekends. I mean, I've definitely experienced them. Fucking amazing. I had such an amazing time. The people that come to those and how you're able to kind of just give them an opportunity to be so vulnerable. I mean, you do such a great job, but what do you see? We're talking about the mindset and exercise and nutrition. What do you see? Do you see a common denominator that a lot of guys bring to the table, and how do you go about sending them out of there with motivation and a fuller heart to be better?
So yeah, I started, I guess 13 years ago, maybe more, started doing events at the gym in Jersey, and they were just fitness weekends. You came to one of those, you just come in, it's just training all weekend. And then once I got to Cali, I didn't have a gym anymore, and I was on this journey of fixing a lot of stuff, personal development, whatever, mindset. And so probably 2-3 years into it, I was like, all right, I want to get back to doing events. I miss doing events. I'm way more confident now. I'm probably better at leading a group, at speaking, all these things. So I want to kind of combine fitness and mindset and lifestyle stuff and all this stuff that I've been working on for the last 3 years, kind of do something unique like that. And so we refined the events over a few years. And I think it was just like, I thought to myself, well, hey, if I'm struggling with these things, I'm sure a lot of guys are, and I know a lot of guys are. And if this helped me a lot, I think it would help a lot of guys. And I know that a lot of people, fitness is always the foundation, I think. So we're always going to have that. It's going to be a large component to it. But lots of people that I talk to do not have that circle of, good people around them, friends like that. and they're not great at building relationships, and they don't have a lot of confidence. And so I was like, well, great. I struggle with all those things. I've improved upon it. Let me try to help you and show you what I did. So I brought guys together who had common struggles, maybe common, background, self-limited beliefs, things like that, and brought them together and made like a whole mind, body, spirit kind of weekend where and you really bond with guys when you're doing something super hard, like like when we start with those workouts on the beach where guys are like throwing up and shit like that. You bond with guys when you kind of go to battle, if you will. If you played a
Yeah.
sport, obviously you know that. If you have training partners that you crush it with, you bond with them. So I think that's an important component to it. But then if we can do the opposite of that and just chill out and walls come down and be vulnerable, and it starts with whoever's leading. So it starts with me to be vulnerable and be like, hey, here's all these things that I'm struggling with, that I struggled with, that I still struggle with, because nobody doesn't have struggles on a constant basis. I mean, the Rock does, and Mick Jagger does. We all do. Like, we all have insecurities, we all have anxiety, we all have stress, we all have struggles on a daily basis. So it starts with you, whoever's leading the group. And I think this is important if you run any kind of brick and mortar business, if you're leading a team, if you're leading a team of cooks in a restaurant, or you have your gym there. It's important that the leader shares, like, hey, these are some of the things that I struggle with, that are weaknesses for me. And then it lets everyone else know that it's okay. Like, we don't all have to be like John Wayne and super tough guys all the time. And then I've gotten really good at, and this is something that I worked on because I was horrible at it, but I've gotten really good at bringing people into an environment, making them feel super comfortable. And this is hard to explain in kind of a quick soundbite how to do this.
Yeah.
It takes a while to do this. I think one good book to read about this is The Culture Code, and similar books. If I could think of others, I'll text you or something. But The Culture Code is a good one, where you kind of get all these kind of guidelines and rules where if you take what they give you there, you get better at creating that environment where you bring guys together, break their walls down. You want to have fun, you want to laugh. Like, that's super important. Laughter is the most fundamental sign of safety and connection. And so if you're laughing, like anytime I work with an organization, like I work with a team, whatever it might be, have an event, I always want to get people laughing early, because once we laugh, like Eddie Murphy said, once you get someone to laugh really hard, you've got them forever. And that's super true. So we get them to laugh, and then we be vulnerable. And then from there, we kind of just go through some simple stuff and the common things that everyone has struggled with and everyone shares. Like you said, you opened up and shared stuff that you hadn't shared with anybody. And that, when everyone does that, it's a game changer.
I 100% agree. And I can't recommend a weekend with you enough. And you hit all the points there. The workouts on the beach fucking were brutal.
Yeah.
But it was great. It's the camaraderie and the teamwork, as you talked about. And then we go inside and you're up there improv with Mike. And I mean, everybody's losing it.
Yeah.
And then it's our turn to get up there and pick up, pieces of paper off the floor and then just go with it from there.
Yeah.
You organize a great weekend, and based off of all of your struggles and where the transformation and you overcoming those things is what led you to be so great at this and being a great leader and giving other people the opportunity to open up and, like you said, have a circle of people who you don't even know, but at the end of the weekend, you leave like a band of brothers.
Mm-hmm.
It's amazing.
Yeah, we had one in April or May, April, I think, in Austin, and somehow after 13 years of doing events, it was our best event ever, even coming out of COVID and everything. And it was just so I didn't say that, like, there was a lot of talk after the weekend, like, oh, why was it was the weekend was so amazing. And then one of our long-term clients was explaining to someone who would come to events years ago, and he was like, why was it so much better than the old ones? Like, I don't know, I can't put my finger on it. And then 48 hours later, he hit him up to tell him, and then he texted me to tell me this. He's like, honestly, I think it was Jay's ability to lead a group and his confidence, his commanding. So my point being, and he was right, it is like, I chose that. I chose to be better at leading people. Even during COVID, when we were in lockdown, I was like, what can I do? Because leadership is a choice. And here's what happened during 2020. You either, like, I know a lot of people who had their best years ever, financially, business-wise, and who made crazy life changes, and a lot of people who just fell off a cliff and were completely done, and just glued to the news and to social media and freaking out. And I get it. It was hard not to, but I chose, okay, when we come out of this, a lot of people are going to be weak and struggling, and they're going to need a leader. And I want the people that I'm going to help. I choose to be a leader. Like, leadership's a choice. It's not a gift. It's not something given to you like natural jumping ability, like Michael Jordan or something. It is a choice. So it involves you reading the books on leadership, getting around people who are good leaders, and just pushing yourself as much as you can out of your comfort zone to step up and lead people. And that's why it was our best event. And anyone can do it. Literally any single person. It doesn't matter what you look like physically. It doesn't matter what limitations you have. You choose to be a leader, you will be a leader. And by doing that, you'll make your life and the life of everyone else around you better.
Stop right there. That was beautiful.
Thank you.
Real words. Exactly. 100% correct, man. Man, appreciate your wisdom. Transformation King. There he is.
Thanks, brother.
Yeah, if you want more of these sound bites, you got to the Renegade Radio with Jay. I mean, how many episodes are you up to now?
I think 380 something, I believe.
And I'll never forget number 1. Never forget you getting a little mixer. I'd be like, here we go. Man, 380, always awesome guests. Always love little Q&As when you're by yourself. Man, so good.
Actually.
Seriously. Apple, iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, where people can
yes, sir. Yep.
Can get more of your wisdom and all your knowledge. Man, soak it up.
Thanks.
You're so welcome. Thank you. Again, like I said, thank you for helping me grow over these years, and always being open and to go to a good concert or have me out to California or wherever you are, one of your events. Always appreciate that, man.
Oh, thank man, always a pleasure. Always a pleasure.
And the man who will introduce anyone to anyone. So the guy, the connector, there he is. So let's wrap this up. Out of all of the wonderful things you put together through mindset, leadership, exercise, nutrition, give us a look into your daily life and maybe provide the Jay Ferruggia must-dos, the essentials, the non-negotiables that you were talking about that keeps you happy, healthy, and young. Because nobody would know that you're 20 years old.
Yeah, so I think in terms of the daily non-negotiables, I think it's really important that people create that list. And I think we always hear about, especially if you're an entrepreneur, you're a business owner, we always hear about, well, what are the things you love doing, and then build your life and your business around that. That's pretty cliched advice, and there's not that there's anything wrong with that, but there's, as you know, and I know this about you, there's like 873 things I love doing. Like, I'm just passionate about a lot of shit. So that list is way too long. So a good reframe or a flip on that is, what are the things that you hate not doing? And that list is really short. I think it's like 5 to 7 things for most people. So create that list and then do those things. Let those be your daily non-negotiables and check those off at the end of the day. And then you'll, like I said, you'll have more confidence. You'll be happier. You'll be less anxiety ridden, because like, if I know I'm going to meet you at a concert later, or I'm going to go out to dinner with somebody, or I need to do something for business, if I do all those things for myself first, like the cliche, like if the plane's going down, put your mask on first. If I do those things, like, I've taken care of myself and I feel better. So I could be more present for you at the show, and I could be more present for whoever at dinner, and be more focused. And I don't have the anxiety to be like, fuck, I didn't do what I said I was going to do today. So yeah, so like the things I hate not doing, right? I hate not doing some kind of physical activity and training. If I don't do that, I'm like, I kind of let myself down. So I have to do something every day. It's just like 15 minutes of like a mobility flow or something like that. But the minimum for me really is 30 minutes. Like 15, I'd have to be super busy. So I got to do some kind of activity, physical activity for 30 minutes, break a sweat. I really do. I mean, you and I are foodies. I love going out and eating, amazing meals, but most of the time, 90% of the time, I want to eat super clean food. If I'm traveling or friends are in town, I'm going to go somewhere and, probably eat something that's off the menu a little bit, but then
Yeah.
I don't feel that good. And I really don't like if I'm traveling and I do that like 3, 4 days in a row. It actually puts me in a bad mood because I start to feel like shit. So training, eating clean. I like to read 10 pages from a physical book each day minimum. I'll often end up reading more than that, but that's kind of like one thing. If I'm going to bed and I didn't read, I'll be a little bit down on myself. So easy, just knock that out. I need to spend 2 hours outside every day. I think it's, going back to earlier in the conversation, we were talking about primal and evolutionary. It is not natural or primal or any of those things to sit inside in front of artificial lighting and artificial screens and all. Like, that's horrible. We would have, depending on the time of year and where you were, you would have spent a lot of time outside, and then at night you would have gone into shelter. So we do the exact opposite now. We spend an hour or two outside, where we would have spent 8 hours in a cave at night, and the rest of the time we're outside. So for me, that's huge. Getting outside. Obviously, as you know, listening to good music all day. I mean, you come into my house, you come into my car, you come into the gym, wherever I am, there's always good hip hop, good music playing. And then I have a whole chill mix at night, which is, Coldplay and the Cold War Kids and Tom Petty and Pearl, all the stuff that you would love. Comedy huge. So laughing. So I need to laugh. So I have, that's one of my criteria for friends. They have a good sense of humor. We make each other laugh all day. And then sometimes, like, reality hits and you're going to have a super stressful, busy day. But at the end of the day, if you haven't laughed, to me, that's as important as exercise. Laughter is the best medicine, the cliche. I think that's really true. So I'll just throw on Chappelle's show or some stand up or something because I need to get that laughter each day. And those are really my main things. Like, if I do all those things, at the end of the day, I feel good. Of course, spending time with people that you love, like, that's it. Doing all those things, spending time with people that you love. If I could check those boxes at the end of the day, then I'm great. Then I can work. Then I can do whatever needs to be done. If I don't do those, I'm being honest with you, I will feel like I let myself down a little bit, and I don't like the repercussions of that. So I check those boxes every day. I do those things. Above and beyond, obviously sleeping. You want to prioritize sleep and recovery. Like throughout a normal week, I do like. Ideally, I do like to get a massage. I like to get, some kind of ART or dry needling. I'm big on that as much as I can. Getting a cold plunge, sauna, things like that, float tank. But that's it. I think everybody, if you create that list of things that you have to do that you hate, what do you hate not doing? Create that list, stick to that, and I think that's it. That keeps it pretty simple.
Simple. That's how you do it. That's how you execute. That's why you are who you are. You keep it simple and you actually rehearse it. You get into a rhythm and you just keep on repetition. And repetition, as we know, is just the name of the game to get comfortable and to get better.
Yeah, definitely.
I love that. The things you hate not to do.
Yeah, it's a short list.
Short list. It is.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. Dude, where can people hear your voice, check out what's going on in your life, and how to get more from you? Where do you post, or
where
do they find you?
Renegade Radio on all the places that you mentioned, Apple, iTunes, and then on Instagram, at Jay Ferruggia. You can go to my main site. If you just go to j.fit, it'll take you there and links to stuff there as well.
Amazing. Always. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your words, your wisdom, everything you're doing for this industry, everyone that at your weekends, for connecting me to several people, to connecting good humans to each other. You're a pro at that, man. Thank you for everything that you've done. Thank you for your time.
Always a pleasure, brother. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Dude, have yourself an awesome day. Enjoy. Get to a good concert.
We'll
catch up soon.
Awesome.